you're already experiencing non-duality. That may sound preposterous or far-fetched, I understand. But this is something I'm 100% sure of. The thing is, the experience of non-duality, seeing, feeling, hearing, experiences as not in space, at zero distance, without form, without relation to a feeler, a seer, a hearer, is just the way it is. It's just the way things are, quite simply. Now, when I say it's the way things are, I'm not making a philosophical statement, and I understand it sounds like I am. It's an experiential statement. So just knowing that you're experiencing non-duality already may or may not be helpful in the moment. It may not reveal the truth of non-duality to you, but hopefully it stirs up some curiosity. Now, I'm going to give some examples as to why I know this, or why I'm pretty convinced that many people who have not actually realized the non-dual truth, meaning it's ongoing for them, have actually experienced it and knowingly experienced it. So when I say that you're experiencing non-duality right now, what I really mean is that even though it's not knowingly experienced, it's not cognitively obvious. Well, the problem lies in the statement, it's not cognitively obvious, because we're looking through cognitive filters. We're just looking in the wrong place. And yet, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're definitely experiencing it. It's just that our attention is constantly redirected into this world of me, mine, how to get somewhere, how to get away from something, how to get more of what I need, how to avoid pain, how to find pleasure, who I am, what my history is, where I'm coming from, where I'm going, what I know, what I don't understand, what I'm learning, who I know, on and on and on and on. So our attention just gets redirected into that house of mirrors and bounces around constantly all day long. So that's why it's not a knowing experience of non-duality or an obvious experience of non-duality. And yet the experience is clearly there. It's just subtle. You could say maybe it's in the background, but it's not really in the background. It's just subtly hidden inside the processing that's going on for you right now. With that said, there are people who have definitely experienced it knowingly at times in their life, but had no context for it. Sometimes even felt fear or felt ashamed, or were told by their parents that something's wrong, we need to get this fixed. I've had a good handful of people over the last year or so tell me that as children, they actually did experience non-duality. They experienced themselves in two places at once. They experienced themselves in objects. They experienced no space. Now you can imagine how a child speaking that way could easily be dismissed if the parent wasn't too concerned, but thought the child was imagining, daydreaming, just playing. On the other end of the spectrum, if the parent's very concerned, or a nervous parent, or someone who's oriented to thinking there's already something wrong with their child, they could potentially think this is neurologic dysfunction or psychological dysfunction and send the child to a neurologist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And I've heard all of these things happening to people more than once. More than one person has told me this. So I think children actually do often, but not always, experience the non-dual state. I'm quite sure that at a very young age, before we develop the ego, before we develop the sense of self-referential thought, the sense of a self-referential I, we're experiencing it already, of course, and we just don't remember it. We don't have a context for it. Thought, the world of thought does not have a context for that. The world of thought is a house of mirrors, reflecting only other thoughts, mostly, and perhaps the senses to some degree, but once the identification is tied up in the mind, it's just a bunch of thoughts largely, right? And this, in and of itself, is often a pointer to us that, hey, something's wrong here. I feel anxious. I feel worry all the time. I feel self-doubt. I feel shame. Those are all thought-based. So the recognition that we're living in a house of mirrors of thought, and the sense that it's come on sometime in late childhood, adolescence, somewhere in there, is actually a good pointer that maybe we should start to reorient to what's most important. start to reorient what we're interested in, start to self-inquire, start to look into this whole problem of birth and death, to put it in Zen terms, or the problem of thought and consciousness, or the problem of identity. Why do I suffer? Why do thoughts make me suffer? Why do thoughts seem to distort my experience of life? What's going on there? So then we perhaps pick up a practice, maybe meditation, maybe mindfulness, or we get serious and direct and start digging in, start doing inquiry. Well, where are those thoughts coming from? What is the nature of thoughts? What is the nature of the one that believes the thought? Where is the one that believes the thought? Where am I? Am I in that thought? Am I defined by that thought? Why can I not precisely find I, and yet it feels like I, right? This kind of curiosity, this inward movement of attention, starting to directly address the problem. So that recognition that we're stuck in this house of mirrors of thought is an indirect way of recognizing that there's a reality or a truth far more vast, far more real, but far more difficult to describe in language, or impossible to describe in language, and not really in the paradigm of the human, the widely accepted social paradigm of being a human, the things we normally talk about to people. This is why mundane conversation and small talk can feel so uncomfortable, so inauthentic, because we're participating in the delusion, the collective delusion of me and you, coming and going, past and future, and overlooking where we really want to go, where we really want to look, what we really want to drop into, which is only right here, and has nothing to do with thoughts, and has nothing to do with time, and ultimately has nothing to do with space. And that's non-duality. So again, this truth of non-duality, the experiential truth of it, is not somewhere else. It's not later on when you acquire certain knowledge or information or experiences. It's right here. Something will slow down, or something will subside, and it will naturally reveal itself. This doesn't typically happen before awakening, although it may happen episodically. It's generally not going to be fully realized until after awakening and after a significant amount of shadow work. But when it's realized, and I'm talking to the person who's starting to realize it, or it comes online fully, the conversation's often very much along these lines. Wow, yeah, I've been looking right at that for weeks, for months even. I just still didn't believe it. I still overlooked it. Or I still doubted that that's where I'm supposed to put my attention. Isn't that funny? After all this work, all these awakenings, all this clearing out, there's still that little thin layer of doubt, a thin skin of doubt. And at this level, doubt isn't even a personal thing. It's a very impersonal thing. It's really a tendency to pull attention. It's just going, no, let's go here instead. And that's to a thought. It's just a little bit of a recoil, a hesitation. So what doesn't recoil? What doesn't feel hesitation? What's always on, always here, always alive, always now, now, now? Look there. But look in the subtle. Don't look in a memory. Don't look in an understanding you have about what you should be seeing, feeling, tasting. Rather, see what's right in front of your face. And it might surprise you that it's been there the whole time. And it might surprise you that you actually remember it from childhood. But you can also see, if it's realized and it's clear, you can see why it's been hidden. The mechanism of the hiddenness of it is usually also revealed, because we see through the binding of thought. We see through the binding of attention into thought. So it's already there. I don't know what that does for you. I don't know how that lands, but it's good news. You don't have to find it. It's also really good news that even though that thought sneakily tells you maybe this isn't right for you, or maybe this won't work for you, but it works for others, it's just not accurate. Now, maybe you'll believe that thought for a while, maybe a long time. Or maybe you'll let go of it right now. Can you let go of it right now? Can you let go of the belief that I know how the world is right now? Can you let go of the belief that I know what's right in front of my face right now? I know it. I understand it. I have labels for it. It's out there. It's dimensional. It's solid. It's separate from me. Can you let go of that and just see? It's not magical. It's simple. Let it flood in. Let it materialize, crystallize. Let it reveal itself. Let it wash through you. Let yourself wash through it. Let the boundaries fall. Let the mind stop. Let what is naturally reveal itself. Don't label. Don't second guess. Just stay there. Right there.